What's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is FST Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Striker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and this is the place. If you want to dominate your upcoming drafts, look, you're into season-long fantasy, we've got you covered. You're still making money with DFS, God bless you, we've got you covered. Straight up wagering, props, all that, we've got you covered. Once again, this is the spot. And if you missed it, I mentioned Joe Pisapia, and you're like, I know that name. I've heard that name. Yeah, you have, because he writes. He's the author of the Fantasy Black Book. It's available now. It's changing the way people are dominating leagues. Joe, welcome in. Everyone has drafts that I know. Everyone has drafts coming up. There's news breaking, so I'm going to say hello and welcome, and then I'm going to let you take us down this wild ride. We're close to kickoff, my friend.
We are. Week 3 of the preseason. Ugh, the worst, right? God knows.
Really?
Do I have to watch Trey Lance play anymore? I really don't. I don't need to see a full game of Trey Lance. I don't think anybody needs to see all those picks. But that means we're closer to the real season. We're closer to kickoff, and that's going to be a good time. That means all of our fantasy drafts are probably in that wrapping up process over the next 10 days or so. We're getting ready for the Thursday night opener. That's going to be a banger there. You're going to get the Chiefs and the Ravens. You should be very excited about the NFL season. I love that we got a standalone game on Thursday and on Friday this year. All the football you can possibly handle. And when the season kicks off, the Washington Commanders are going to have a new QB. Hallelujah. Amen. It's going to be Jayden Daniels, the starter. He was officially named the starter by Dan Quinn this week. Very exciting news for the Washington Commanders. And later in the show, we are going to have a full team breakdown of the Commanders because they are one of the more fascinating fantasy values across the board. I'm talking at quarterback. I'm talking at running back. I'm talking wide receiver. Maybe even a little love for the tight end. Which one? Well, you have to wait till the end of the show to figure that out. But Jayden Daniels taking over. This was the guy that, the prince we were promised, so to speak. And I'm looking at Jayden Daniels as a guy that maybe there will be some peaks and values. But, valleys.
And both.
But
there will be both of those things, yes.
There will be both of those things at certain times. But what's great about Jayden Daniels from a fantasy perspective is that rushing equity that he's going to bring on a daily basis. He's going to go out there and he's going to give you the upside for big rushing games, rushing touchdowns. That's what we want. So even though there will be peaks and valleys, and sometimes there will be mistakes because he's a rookie quarterback, what you're going to love is the fact that he's going to get you points over and over and over again every single week, and that upside is huge. Now, the downside's there too, because the style in which he ran in college was way too upright. He has got to learn to get out of bounds. He's got to learn to slide. Taking hits at the NFL level is not what you want. But with all the hype surrounding Caleb Williams and all the hard knock stuff, with me personally being the president of the Marvin Harrison Jr. fan club, Jayden Daniels is still sitting there, Rookie of the Year, plus 650. And he's a really intriguing selection for that award, Matt, because this is a dude that has the ability to be one of those dynamic highlight reel quarterbacks that really captures everybody's attention. It's a very big fan base, that Washington fan base that's been hungry for a very long time to have a winner again, new ownership, new coach, new quarterback, so much new. It's a lot of good feelings and good vibes going on in Washington. And you and I both know typically these awards tend to go towards the quarterbacks. You saw last year CJ Stroud have an incredible season. So could this be the second year in a row, Matt, where the number 2 QB off the board ends up being the Rookie of the Year? What do you think? Daniels for ROY?
It's a great point. It's a great number. Remember, we're all about the wagering here. If we can sit in an opportunity to get 6.5 to 1 back on a supposition, why not? But let's think about it even further. Let me give you full clearance. I grew up in a time where a guy named Randall Cunningham came in and broke the league because they weren't used to something like that. Now it's a bit more commonplace, right? We're going to see it in Indianapolis. We're going to see it in certain places. But what Daniels brings with that mobility opens up so much. And you alluded to the top, great tease. So much for the players around him in his offensive ecosystem. So I really like Daniels. I like the play. I like the uncertainty, if you will. And that's why when entering into a future prop bet, so a future bet at this point, plus 650, something like that on volatile, I'll take that. I'll take that every single time, Joe.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. And I think this is a great wager right now. Even if you do like Williams for this award, who is the clear favorite, or you're like me that thinks that Harrison can compete, it is a quarterback award to lose. So the fact that you're getting the other guy, I mean, injuries can happen, bad performance can happen, a lot can happen to any of these players. They are rookies after all. But man, oh man, it is a very tempting number. What's not tempting right now, is the value of Curtis Samuel. He's dealing with turf toe. This is one of the worst things you could possibly get here going into the season. This is an injury that typically tends to linger. And Curtis Samuel has been one of those guys that people are looking at in this Bills offense and saying to themselves, well, I don't know what Keon Coleman is or Khalil Shakir is going to be. I like Dalton Kincaid, but he's a little pricey. Maybe I'll just wait and I'll take Curtis Samuel, who is familiar with the actual offensive coordinator that's now in Buffalo, right? A little bit of continuity.
Yes.
But now, Matt, I think this is a guy that drops into my don't draft list because I could see this lingering well through September into October. He was kind of a lower rung property anyway. So to me, once a guy's dealing with any kind of foot injury, wide receiver injury with feet typically do not go well. This is a guy that I know he's not very expensive, but at the same time, I think that concept of, oh, well, it's turf toe, he'll be out of 2 weeks. No, typically it's never 2 weeks. It usually lingers a lot longer. So Matt, Curtis Samuel is now a player I went from being kind of curiously intrigued about to being out on. Where do you stand with Curtis Samuel in this news about the turf toe?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and that's the thing. I mean, look, think about what the toe does for the human body, especially a receiver pushing off, pivoting, things like that. So even if you're back on the field, if that particular unit is not 100%, it's going to impact your performance. But furthermore, Joe, the offensive ecosystem in Buffalo, right? And this is from your book. What's going on there? This really makes everything very, very uncertain, just totally uncertain for a lot of people. And it's going to be intriguing after, say, week 2 or 3, when things start to shake out. You'll see everybody running in. That's the problem. I think that there's a clear divide in the league between offenses that you know what you're going to get and offenses that just uncertain about. I mean, we moved from Buffalo. Let's talk Pittsburgh situation now.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren dealing with a hamstring issue. Now, they're saying it's not a big deal. They're not super concerned. So I'm a little concerned, but not too much. Here's what's going on, though, which is so interesting, because it's all about draft capital, right? So if you like Jaylen Warren before, now he's going at RB 29, RB 30, somewhere in that range. If you look at Najee Harris, both of these guys about a week or so ago before this news, they were both going around 26, 27, kind of back to back. Now, Najee Harris has gone to 22, and Jaylen Warren has fallen all the way to 30. That's a big divide. So if you like Jaylen Warren before and you're not afraid of the hamstring issue, well, now's a great time to get more of a discount on it. If you are afraid of Jaylen Warren and you want to draft Najee Harris, the only problem is that Najee Harris's draft stock has gone up a little bit. Now, has it gone up too much? I would argue yes, because he's going ahead of Zamir White, one of my favorite guys on the board. He's going ahead of Tony Pollard, who I also think we're going to break down in the second hour, has an opportunity to bounce back this year in this Tennessee Titans offense a little bit with another year removed from that surgery. So this is a weird situation. I know the Steelers are on our team previews today as well, so we'll get a little bit further into that. But the Najee Harris draft stock up, Jaylen Warren down, as somebody who was kind of out altogether on the Steelers offense in the running back position anyway, now all of a sudden I'm a little intrigued by the discount I'm getting on Jaylen Warren. It is a long season, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Lastly, a trade that kind of came out of nowhere, Jahan Dotson traded to the Eagles. So Dotson just drafted a few years ago out of Penn State. In-division trades don't happen very often. De'Ami Brown might be the immediate winner. Some people think it's Luke McCaffrey, although they seem to push some cold water on that ideal. Here's a question for you. Could the Washington Commanders be just accumulating more capital here potentially to make a trade for a wide receiver from somewhere else? Maybe San Francisco?
Something to think about. Perhaps we'll dive into that and some of the deeper questions heading into many people's draft when we return, Joe. I like that, though. That would be nice.
Well, what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks is playing a little game of Would You Rather to help you get ready for all of your fantasy drafts, because when that board is rocking, you want to make the right decision. So Matt and I are going to continue to help you. When we come back, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. the New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia with you here. And just a quick reminder, at SportsGrid TV, those are our social media handles. Do yourself a favor when you get a chance. Just double check that you're following along because we're going to be giving a lot of information here leading up to kickoff, and you're not going to want to miss any of it. We're going to be doing a lot of Would You Rather here today. We're going to be doing team previews as well. And we have the author of the Fantasy Black Book locked in our room for the next foreseeable future. So he can't go anywhere. So we can really dive deeply and hear from the man himself. And Joe, I make that joke, but at the same time, we live in a world with so much fleeting information. To actually have the source locked in for a finite amount of time really clarifies any BS, any misunderstanding. We're getting it right from, and I don't want to say the horse's mouth, but right from the expert's mouth. So we all appreciate that here at SportsGrid. Are you ready to play Would You Rather?
I don't have a choice. I'm locked in the room, so we might as well play it.
Good answer, my friend. He's learning, folks. He's learning. Hit us up with any questions on social media. Okay, here we go. First thing, would you rather, Joseph Michael Pisapia, I'm hoping, Patrick Mahomes?
Actually, you nailed it. I don't know if you were like, was that actually?
I grew up in the region.
Oh,
I mean,
so
it's really only
sad.
one of two names.
How Italian is that? I mean, God, from Brooklyn, the whole thing, and I get all, talk about stereotypes. Wow.
Anyway, Joey P., would you rather Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts, and why?
Well, first of all, what's so interesting here is any of the drafts that you're in, most people are in the single quarterback leagues. I would expressly encourage you to try Superflex this year if you've never done it, or to at least get a Superflex league in your portfolio, as Matt likes to call it. But when you have the single quarterback leagues, what's so nice is somebody's going to shoot that flare gun off at some point. Could be second round, could be third round, could even be fourth if everyone's really disciplined, where the quarterbacks start to go. And typically it's Josh Allen, the first one going, even though the first guy on my board is actually Patrick Mahomes. Why is it Patrick Mahomes? Because I'm old enough to remember 2 years ago where he had 5,000 yards passing. And the year before that, he was 4,800 yards passing. And that was also without Tyreek Hill. So it's not like he needs Tyreek Hill in order to get that sort of number. Patrick Mahomes is legendary. Now, Jalen Hurts isn't a bad pick. He's going to get you points with his legs. But the problem with Hurts and the problem with Allen is I'm just not sure that you're going to see the total of rushing touchdowns, which was a record, by the way. Both of them set 15 most rushing touchdowns for a quarterback ever, okay? Both of those guys did it in the same year. I don't know if you can count on that. Typically, they're much closer to that 9 or 10 range. And I do have my concerns that maybe with Saquon Barkley there, that things change a little bit at the goal line, where you don't see as much as the brotherly shove. Maybe we're trying to protect Jalen Hurts a little bit more. And don't forget, Jason Kelsey's gone. He was the integral part of that brotherly shove. He was the one that made it work. He is not there anymore. I know they're still going to do it better than everybody else. I just don't know if they're going to do it as much as they used to. That's the only question. So for me, it's Patrick Mahomes. But the real answer here is once that flare gun goes up, you have to look at the rest of the board and say, okay, do I want to go quarterback now, or do I want to wait for a Jordan Love or a Jaden Daniels or somebody like that later? And I typically like to do that this year. I think it's a better bang for your buck. But if I am going to go early QB, Mahomes will be the one of the two I would select here.
All right, and who knows if Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift will get along swimmingly throughout the season. We shall find out. Let's move on to wide receivers here. My gosh, can't even believe we're wasting breath.
Well, on that note,
here we go.
Brought it up,
Yeah,
my youngest daughter, who, football player, I coach her flag football team. She's the quarterback of the boys team. Very proud of her. I got her to do a fantasy football league with me as a co-manager, but the caveat was we had to have a Taylor Swift themed team name. So we are Dak to December. Dak to December. It's Taylor Swift song. I know you have no idea, but that's, so there you go.
Joe, would you rather Cooper Kupp or Michael Pittman Jr. for the entire 2024 NFL season?
Oh, it is so tempting to say Cooper Kupp, isn't it? I mean, if Cooper Kupp is my third wide receiver, and you know me, I do like those early wide receiver builds, I find it hard to pass on Cooper Kupp as my third. However, I think more to the point, you're looking at one of these guys as your number two. And Michael Pittman is younger, healthier, steady as well. Maybe he doesn't have the upside of what Cooper Kupp had a couple years ago, but I don't know if we should ever chase that again, especially now that Puka Nacua is there too. I mean, trying to chase what happened a couple years ago is crazy. We just did that deep dive last week, right? In case you missed it, on Jonathan Taylor. Why are we chasing the 1,800-yard season that he had with Carson Wentz? He's been hurt for 2 years. Sure, he's still going to be a very good, probably a fringe first-round pick. But what are we trying to do here? Like, stop living in the past. We're drafting a team for 2024, and I just think Michael Pittman is the safer investment. And early on, I do want to go a little safer, typically speaking. Now, look, if you're just playing a league for fun, you're out there just for pride and hanging out with you. But if you've got major investments in a fantasy league, the Cooper Kupp one is tough. If you are in, however, a very big money league or something like that where it's very competitive, then a pick like Cooper Kupp can be that sort of make or break. But you've got to understand there's break in there. All the news is positive now. That's great. What did you think you were going to get? A lot of negative news. Cooper Kupp's no good. Cooper Kupp's not ready. So I think Pittman is the safer of the two investments. But if I'm looking to go for broke, or he is my third wide receiver where I can somehow manage that a little easier when he misses time, Cooper Kupp then is a viable pick. But just straight up between the two of them in a vacuum, I'm going to go with Pittman, which I know is going to surprise a lot of people.
Sure. No, I understand the logic. It's the choice of words that maybe makes me raise my eyebrows when safer. Because I look at Pittman and Indianapolis offense like an IPO, like something coming public that we don't know what it's going to be. So a lot of times it's inflated and then you see it comes down. Hey, man.
Last year, even with Gardner Minshew, he still had 109 catches and 1,152 yards. Now, he only had 4 touchdowns, but I'm going to blame that on Gardner Minshew. How about you?
But that's relevant information, you see. When you're diving into any investment, you really need that last bit of information. So thank you. All right, let's move on here and still continue the conversation with wide receivers because you're clearly passionate about it. Jalen Waddle or DK Metcalf? What are you taking here? The high upside, or are you taking the consistency?
I'm taking the Jalen Waddle side. Jalen Waddle had 100 catches as a rookie, 1,300 yards his second season. Last year he was hurt. Okay. And even when he came back and he was healthy, remember that one game where Tyreek Hill wasn't around against the Jets defense where he put up 142 and a touchdown? So the upside for Jalen Waddle is if Tyreek Hill should miss any time, all of a sudden he becomes an incredible asset. Whereas DK, I think he gets limited a little bit by the mediocre play of Geno Smith.
All right, we do have a running back, but I think we're going to save it for the other side here because I'm going to really want to let you stretch your legs. So I like the wide receiver talk that we've been having, and you're proving points here. But when we come back, we're going to hold your feet to the fire with running backs, Joe.
Yes, I can feel them getting toasty as we speak. So we come back, we'll continue a little Would You Rather ADP right after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, folks, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here. Hey, you ever wonder what your favorite shows talk about during the breaks, right? Sports-oriented shows, these talk stars screaming and yelling. Would you have Lego tables on your bingo card? Because that was the conversation, and I'll let Joe continue that conversation, and then I'll give him a would you rather. You do love Lego.
Oh, I want to continue. As our producer Tommy said, and I quote, Lego tables are lit. They are. They're, Matt still has the little kids. I have teenagers now, so it's a totally different universe. But I'm telling you, parents out there with the young kids, get yourself a Lego table. Football season's coming. You want to sit on a Sunday and actually watch the games? You have the Lego table there. You're watching the games. You're playing Legos. You're building stuff. It's a beautiful thing. Do it. I'm telling you. You can thank me later. In fact, after this show, I might buy myself one and just sit there. It's very therapeutic. The Legos, very good. Very good.
All right. Facebook Marketplace, watch out. All right. So Joe was telling me that there are two-sided Lego tables. So I'm going to continue this, Joe. On one side of the Lego table is Joe Mixon. On the other side of the Lego table is Kenneth Walker III. Whom would you rather?
This one makes me mad. It does because, the same range as guys like Jalen Waddle and DK Metcalf. So my answer is those guys. But I will say this. When it comes to those two players, I think I'm just going to lean towards the younger guy. And the younger guy here is Kenneth Walker. And that might surprise people because I think Joe Mixon's getting a lot of helium because he is a name everyone's familiar with. And he's been a productive fantasy running back. And now he is in an offense that really was dazzling last year. I mean, the Houston Texans came out of nowhere and really were one of the, I would think, league-winning fantasy offenses, right? You had shares of Nico Collins or C.J. Stroud late. All of a sudden, you're like, wow, look at me. I'm awesome. Look at Tank Dell getting big games for me. But at the end of the day, a running back is still a young man's position. So I'm just going to go with the youth of Ken Walker and hope that he can stay healthy. He is that downfield runner. Now, Charbonnet's there too, so the motivation's there for him. It's not like he can get complacent. I think that's a good thing. I just don't know about the Seattle Seahawks, what that offense is really going to look like. In hour two, we're going to dive into that too, because like the Cleveland Browns, a lot of names that are out there at mid-level ADPs, but really tough to invest in. So I'll save more Seahawks talk for later. Let's get to some tight ends instead, because there's some value there, Matt.
All right, and it's a perfect segue because a lot of times running back performance is directly correlated to tight end performance, whether it be on a blocking side or just as a threat and they need someone to cover. So let's start with San Francisco, because when you think running back performance, you think Christian McCaffrey, but a lot of times you don't tie in George Kittle to that. So let's start right here. Where is George Kittle? Who is George Kittle in 2024?
Why is George Kittle?
Yes,
Go for
yes.
Guardians
Wow.
of the Galaxy on you.
Right.
George Kittle last year, tight end 5. George Kittle the year before, tight end 3, but the year before that, tight end 4. So currently he's being drafted as tight end 6 or 7. So that's value to me. So while everyone's chasing, and rightfully so, the Trey McBrides of the world, and we'll talk more about him in the next segment, I get that. And Kincaid is kind of the new hot thing. George Kittle tends to fall in a lot of drafts, and I've seen it happen a lot recently. And if he falls to you past his ADP, it's same thing happened actually. Again, that CBS Experts draft I was just in on Friday. Kittle lasted way longer than I thought he would. Somebody scooped him up at a really good value. I think you should do the same. Still a very important piece of that 49er offense, especially if Ayuk, for some reason, is not there. Don't think that Pierce all of a sudden is going to be the guy that gets all these targets. Kittle's going to get more.
All right, let's spend some time on one of my favorites for the upcoming season, Kyle Pitts. Let's go. What do you got?
Look, we've talked about this a lot heading in. I know people have been burned. I know he's let you down, but did he really let you down, or was it Marcus Mariota? And was it, Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke? He's got Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a real live quarterback. Kyle Pitts has the ability to go well over 1,000 yards. He could approach 100 catches in this offense because there's not a lot of target competition. And he's a guy that could have 10 touchdowns this year. Wow. Now, all that is the high-end ceiling. I think the floor is going to be much better. You got to learn to love a game when it comes to Kyle Pitts. The value is just too strong.
All right. Sometimes it takes time to learn to love again. With the time that we have remaining, just under a minute, talk about Evan Ingram. Nobody knows better than you, my friend.
Well, the thing about Evan Ingram is very quietly last year, he was tight end 2. Tight end 2. Evan Ingram, I know it's crazy, but he had 143 targets and 114 receptions. Now, granted, he only had 4 touchdowns. However, the thing to keep in mind is when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, Christian Kirk is there. Yeah, they drafted a rookie wide receiver who everyone's high on, but it's going to take time for that to come together. What's known is that Evan Ingram has a good rapport with Trevor Lawrence, and he is probably going to see at least 130 targets again. Evan Ingram is a really good consolation prize late at tight end. We come back. More ADP, would you rather? It's time to get drafted.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. We're rolling along. We want to thank everybody that's chiming in on social media. Keep the conversation going at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. We're doing another round of FST Would You Rather. And I really like what this is doing because it's just opening up conversations. And I think it's the most important thing that we need. So let's continue having a tight end conversation. You had alluded to this player earlier. Let's bring Trey McBride into the conversation. Trey, sir, please come in. And then let's bring in Mark Andrews. Good to see you again. Hope you're feeling well after your recent incident. Everything's good? Okay. So Trey McBride, Mark Andrews. Now, some people will use the name recognition, the quarterback play, the consistency, if you will, of Mark Andrews. But Trey McBride is exciting, and that's an exciting offense. Let's hear from you, Joe.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I don't want to be negative about Mark Andrews. I'm going to be realistic about him, which is the last 2 seasons he's missed time. And I think that is the tiebreaker for me. I think these players are very close. If Trey McBride went a couple picks before me and I was looking to snag a tight end in that round, I would go, all right, well, I'll take Mark Andrews. And I'd still be okay about it. But if they're both on the board and you're trying to make a decision between them, I think the logic here is the guy who's 4 years younger, who has a little less tread on the tires, who has clear opportunity in this offense, and you already saw it last year. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming in. He's going to suck up a lot of targets. But after Marvin Harrison Jr., there's really nobody else to get excited about in this wide receiver core, which means Trey McBride is going to see a ton. And that's good for Kyler Murray, too. Right. Kyler Murray's offensive line he's dealing with is still not great. So he's going to have to get rid of the football quickly. You know, some of those outlet passes to the tight end are going to be really useful. So to me, I'm looking at Trey McBride being a guy that, again, could also approach 100 catches in his offense. I love Mark Andrews, love the talent. Mark Andrews probably has a little bit more touchdown equity. So if you're in that half PPR scenario or even a standard league, I would get the lean that way. But if it's just full PPR, I'll take the points. I'll take the volume that's going to come with Trey McBride because I think he's going to see so much of it. But again, Mark Andrews, not a bad consolation prize.
Switchboards are lighting up. Our producer behind the glass is looking at me like, what do I do with all these lights? We'll get to them. Controversial takes, though. I mean, and that's what it's all about. Look, Joe, you can stand there and say these things, but you can also back these things up. A lot of people go and hide after they say things like that. Let's continue this conversation. We're going to bring in Malik Neighbors. We're going to bring in Amari Cooper. Now, a lot of people like what Neighbors brings, his youth, his dynamic athletic ability. But for me, I like the person throwing the ball to a person that knows how this thing works in the league. It's not his first time around. And I think the defense for Cleveland's better, and it's going to put the offense for Cleveland in better spots. So I lean Cooper, but let's hear from you.
Oh, this is so tough because I have railed against both of these quarterbacks, right? Haven't I? I mean, I've talked about, like, I love Malik Neighbors. But Daniel Jones has been a hot mess throughout his career. And speaking of hot mess, how about Deshaun Watson here, who's already dealing with elbow soreness already? No puns intended. But, like, think about this. Think about that we've got a situation here where Amari Cooper should clearly be the guy. I agree with you. Like, Amari Cooper on paper, he's the established wide receiver. There's something about the intrigue of the new, and Malik Neighbors is new and exciting. But I have been the guy for weeks talking about fading the Cleveland Browns, and just the unknown of that offense, who's going to be throwing the football. If Watson isn't good this year, I feel okay about Jameis Winston slinging the football around, making a ton of mistakes, but he's going to want to throw the football. Whereas the Daniel Jones, if and when he gets hurt again, it goes to who? Drew Lock. So I'm going to lean towards Cooper here, take the devil that I know instead of the devil that I don't know. And there's a really good chance Malik Neighbors just destroys the ADP he's currently at. There's a good chance that we look back on this conversation here and we say, I can't believe we were talking about this. Malik Neighbors is a star and Amari Cooper is a veteran who is now going in the other direction. That's very possible. Mm-hmm. For that ADP, where they're both going, I am going to agree with you. I don't like either situation, but I will lean towards Cooper ever so slightly, just taking the guy, the veteran, and hoping for the best, as opposed to hoping that everything comes together for the Giants, which typically the last couple of years has not been a good hope.
Look, what I appreciate in all that is the honesty and the willingness to come back and revisit the conversation and to stand again in the flames of our fire. All right, let's continue the conversation here. You got Aaron Jones on one side and you have James Conner on the other. And according to James Conner's people and his agent, he will not attend this conversation without having Benson sitting exactly right next to him. So let's have the conversation because Conner's going to be in that backfield week 6. You tell me.
I mean, that's not like Aaron Jones.
I'm so
That is
sorry
my
to
reaction.
say.
Well, it's not like Aaron Jones was the pinnacle of being on the field. He only played 11 games last year. So I guess, the meta answer is, what wide receivers on the board? Is there a wide receiver on the board I could take that I would? And this is why I think it's very important to map out what you're looking for, because this is a whole grouping in a row, right, in the same ADP that we're talking about here. We've got Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery, Ramondre Stevenson, literally in a row in ADP. I don't think it matters. I think each one of them comes with risk. I think each one of them comes with some upside. Ramondre Stevenson, the younger guy in that grouping, that I think is probably the way you'd want to go. Always go with the younger guy when it comes to running back. David Montgomery in the best offense, arguably, of the three. I think the difficulty now with Aaron Jones is whenever you see guys that get jettisoned and end up somewhere else, I'm looking at you, Joe Mixon, I'm looking at you, a lot of those players, Derrick Henry is the exception to the rule, things don't go well for them. So I like to kind of fade those scenarios. And now that Sam Darnold's quarterback, I just don't know how well the chains are going to move in that offense. And that's a problem. And they have to rely more heavily on Aaron Jones. And that might also be a problem at this stage in his career. He, to me, tracks more like that running back that, you're in the league for 5 years and that's about what your, lifespan is in the NFL for a running back like Aaron Jones, who has consistently outperformed and consistently been a surprising RB1 time and time again. I just don't know if he could do it this year. So if I have to pick between those two, I'm going to lean with Conner, which is probably surprising. But the reason I lean with Conner is because it's very easy. It's one of the few scenarios, too, where I really like the backup. And if I'm a little bit more aggressive and I get the handcuff of Trey Benson, it's one of the few handcuffs for the same running back on the same team that I actually do like, because I am confident if Conner goes down, not only would Trey Benson be the 3-down back, he would be very good at it. And I think that is the difference maker between those two. So you have to have an insurance policy. The Aaron Jones insurance policy, to me, does not look nearly as good as the Trey Benson one in Arizona.
All right, this is coming in on social media really quickly. A question from user Mike Drop 747: Jones or Ezekiel Elliott? Really quickly.
Oh,
Jeff.
Jones.
Okay.
So, but the real answer is Rico Dowdle, who's even cheaper. That's the real answer.
All right. Thank you to Mike Drop for that. We encourage everyone, please, interactive show. Hit us up on social media. Give us questions. We get a chance to read them on the air. All right, let's move on here. We've been talking about the Steelers quite a bit, and I know that Steeler Nation is out there just waiting for Joe, at Joe Pisapia 17, by the way. George Pickens or T. Higgins? Which way are you going?
Yeah, a lot of Steeler talk today. We're going to have a lot of Steeler stuff today. I really like both these players at ADP, so let me be clear about that too. I think this is a good scenario. This is one of those where if you took RB early, if you took Bijan, if you took CMC, if you took Breece Hall, you're looking to make some more ground up at wide receiver. This is a good scenario. What do we talk about? The ecosystem, right? So if it's Wilson, if it's Fields, it's still Wilson or Fields. T. Higgins has Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins is 1 year removed from a very strong, fringy wide receiver one finish. So why would I not take T. Higgins? And again, just like that Jalen Waddle argument, if something should happen to Jamar Chase, right? Like he's kind of doing that hold in right now. What if he has a soft tissue injury and misses, a couple weeks? Well, T. Higgins becomes incredibly valuable as the number one wide receiver on the Bengals. And there's also a guy who's looking for a contract next year. So I really like George Pickens. I think he's coming at a great ADP cost. We'll talk more about him later in the show. But T. Higgins between these two is the way I would go. And I've drafted a lot of T. Higgins this year because of that factor. I just think people are really forgetting how good of a wide receiver he is and how pass heavy this offense is going to be.
All right, we'll talk more wide receivers on the other side. But right now, let's close it out with either Zamir White or Najee Harris.
Let's see. One running back has all the carries. The other running back is splitting with somebody else. And the running back that has all the carries, that's a running back I want. Give me Zamir White. Last year, you saw a little taste of what Zamir White could do. He's from a running back factory in college. You saw Antonio Pierce wants to play defense, wants to run the football. And frankly, with Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew under center, mostly Minshew this year, you would imagine, guess what? It's going to be a lot of running the football. So give me Zamir White. We come back. Give me more FST.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here, and if I told you that the Lego table conversation was still going on between breaks, you think I was lying, but I'm not. Facebook Marketplace, folks. Man, oh man, I don't want to do any free advertising here, but hit me up on social media. Tell me, do as many people use Facebook Marketplace as I am led to believe? Because I had no idea about it until I met and married my wife. And now every time she mentions it to anyone, it's like Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive comes on. They all just come rushing out and oh my God. Anyway.
The worst. All the spammy messages. Is this available? Is this still available? No, it's not available.
I don't want to know from this world. Garage sales are great. Yard sales and flea markets are great. Once it starts getting digital, it gets creepy. I just want to know something. Can a wide receiver be found on Facebook Marketplace? Can I go on wide receiver on Facebook Marketplace and I want a wide receiver that's rising up in the rankings? And then all of a sudden I see Keon Coleman is available 16 miles away. I'm going to send this person a message. Is this still available? And Joe, you're the person. So now please respond.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top of the show about Curtis Samuel's turf toe injury. And what's happening now is Keon Coleman's draft stock is starting to rise because of that. So people that were a little skittish, saying, well, do I want to take Keon Coleman? Do I want to just wait, maybe take a cheap Curtis Samuel instead? Well, now all of a sudden Keon Coleman is going close to Ladd McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins, and Christian Watson. I'm out. Sorry. You're telling me Christian Watson at 40 or Keon Coleman at 46, like wide receiver 46 over? No, I'm taking Christian Watson. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I know how good Jordan Love could possibly be with him. And it's not that Josh Allen's not capable of elevating Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's a talented young man, a very likable guy, but the ADP right now is soaring, and I don't know if that's necessarily one I want to buy into. Now, if you get him later than that, and that's very possible in your general casual leagues that he does get a little bit later than that, I can understand buying a piece of or a share or two and seeing if Keon Coleman actually does emerge. But you've got to be patient. It might not be a September thing. It might barely be an October thing. It might be more of a November, December thing. And by then, I just don't know, once again, do I want to pay that sort of ADP price to wait and see when other guys out there are on the board? Like DeAndre Hopkins is slipping down there. I know what DeAndre Hopkins is going to be. I know he's older. I know the risk of that. I'll take my chances with DeAndre Hopkins. Another guy who is also now right neck and neck here with Keon Coleman and should not be, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I like more than Keon Coleman. JSN, his stock is rising because Tyler Lockett having trouble getting on the practice field the last couple of weeks, dealing with some leg injuries. And look, this is a player that's older. right? Tyler Lockett's been around the block more than once. So Jackson Smith-Njigba was a guy that came in, from Ohio State, the wide receiver factory spot, had a lot of hype around him. Last year was hurt going into the year. It took him a while. That offense struggled. Geno Smith took a step backward. Now we've got a whole new system here. Again, I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but I do know this. At that same value where JSN is going at wide receiver 45 and Keon Coleman's going at wide receiver 46, I'll take my chance with a guy that's been in the league for a year already, that had a very high pedigree, who's going to probably play a lot of snaps in the slot because that's going to be really valuable in the PPR formats. That's where I'm going to go. Matt, Keon Coleman, Jackson Smith-Njigba, those two guys are on the board because literally they are right next to each other. Which one are you taking?
It's clearly JSN for me as well, just because, again, I know what I'm getting, and I just like the offensive ecosystem a lot better. And I mean, my gosh, going from Buffalo to Seattle, I'm sorry, people that live in those cities, but I spent half my life on the road. I can't think of two more dismal weather-related cities. Oh, my gosh. Can we go somewhere nicer? Can we go to maybe Los Angeles and talk Josh Palmer?
Yes, much nicer. Even nicer would have been San Diego.
Depends. Yeah, San Diego.
Oh,
yeah. LA is a bit of a
San Diego is where it's at. But Josh Palmer is another one too, where people are starting to come around and say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I understand Harbaugh's there and Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator, but maybe they're going to throw the football more than 10 times a game. Maybe, just maybe. This is the all off season. Nothing made me laugh harder than this notion of we can't possibly draft a Charger wide receiver. How could we possibly do that? I mean, they're going to run the ball 800 times a game. No, they're not. Have you seen that defense? It stinks. They are going to have to throw the football. And I understand Justin Herbert with the foot injury was a little bit of a concern. Things are going in the right direction now. I think it's a good thing it happened when it happened in the season. But even if he's a little sluggish in September, eventually they're going to throw the football. Justin Herbert has had some fantastic seasons. Harbaugh didn't come in back to the NFL to go just run the football 500 times. He came in because he had a quarterback that he could build around, and that quarterback is very capable. And Josh Palmer is a guy that has performed with that quarterback, so it becomes a really good draft investment when you're looking for like your fifth wide receiver, which is basically where you're getting Josh Palmer, sometimes even later. I think it's a pretty decent investment. So that's another guy that's starting to rise up boards because I think people are coming to that same realization, like, oh yeah, they are going to throw the ball more than 15 times a game.
Now, you keep saying rising up boards, and we hear this term a lot. We hear helium, we hear inflated. Let's go to Washington here and have a conversation. We opened this hour talking about Jahan Dotson going to the Eagles. So now, last name aside, Luke McCaffrey kind of rises up boards. Is it helium? Is it overinflated, or is it justified?
Well, I can't put the last name aside because I think that's a big part of why this is. If his name was, Luke Striker, I mean, which is a cool name.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
right,
Like,
it is.
Pretty sure I saw that guy wrestle on the Indies, Luke Striker. But I think because his last name is McCaffrey, everyone gets a little excited, and they should. Like, I think in a dynasty league, Luke McCaffrey is actually a really interesting piece. I tried to get him in the 4th round of my dynasty draft, but again, 4th round of a dynasty draft. And if you're listening and to what, Dan Quinn's saying, if you're reading the tea leaves here, it doesn't seem like they're all saying, oh yeah, he's worked his way into as the number 2 or number 3 wide receiver. Yet all of a sudden in this weekend, I've seen him just skyrocket up draft boards because of the last name and because people are excited about him. But it looks more like De'Ami Brown or maybe some other combination of a couple other guys are going to be the 2 and the 3 here, at least temporarily, unless Washington pulls off a deal. So in a deeper league, in a 14-team league, sure, I get drafting Luke McCaffrey. But I'm not drafting him over Josh Palmer. I'm not taking him over, guys like Kobe Myers, who's wide receiver 54 right now. Luke McCaffrey, like I said, is starting to fly up draft boards into that conversation. And I'd much rather have Darnell Mooney, Jalen McMillan. Those are wide receivers right now that are set up for workloads. Darnell Mooney is the number 2 wide receiver on the Falcons. Jalen McMillan's a 3rd wide receiver on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not sure what Luke McCaffrey is right now, but we'll find out. Right now, he's being overdrafted. Deep dive when we return.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. We're having a great time. Matt and Joe, the crew behind the glass, just everyone here at SportsGrid, man. But without you, folks, viewers, listeners, we're nothing. We're just basically speaking into the ether. So thank you on behalf of everyone here at SportsGrid, to all of you out there that keep us going. You're the reason that we come to work each and every day. Okay, let's do a deep dive here, Joe, because these have been getting great feedback. Okay, so we've been doing them the past few weeks. If you missed anything, go check out the archives. Joe Pisapia, the author of the Fantasy Black Book, gives you a personal deep dive into a player of interest. Now, to me, no one is of more interest than anyone as part of the Chiefs' offensive ecosystem. Talk to me about this wide receiver that has so many people polarized, Joe.
Yeah, well, the player obviously has people polarized because the offseason shenanigans of Rashee Rice have put him in a bad spot, a spot that's landed him in a courtroom, most likely in early December. Now, whether that trial date happens or not, or gets pushed back a little bit further, it's the holidays, crazy things happen. Rashee Rice right now is slated to play. You even saw a suspension come down this week for Zay Jones, right? There's no Rashee Rice suspension. Why? Because the NFL, I think, is waiting. They're waiting because he's a Chief, and they're waiting because they're going to let the due process play out. Very similar to what happened with Alvin Kamara. So we have a book already on how this story goes. We saw it 2 years ago, right? And it's more likely Rice gets suspended and misses time next year. But even if it should come down at some point now, late in the season, which again, I highly doubt in the month of December that's going to happen in the full swing of NFL season. Rashee Rice is an asset in fantasy, I think, is a really interesting one. He's being drafted as the wide receiver 34 in ADP. Now, that's a wide receiver 3. Last year, just for context, he finished as wide receiver 27. So that's much closer to a wide receiver 2, isn't it? He also did so in the month of September, seeing just 14 targets and only 10 catches. So basically nothing in the month of September, right? So that was 4 games where he did absolutely nothing, basically, for the Kansas City Chiefs. Follow that up with December, when he really figured out the offense and Patrick Mahomes really had a strong connection with him. Check out these target numbers. 35 receptions on 46 targets. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's a guy that's really looking like a favorite target of Patrick Mahomes. Hollywood Brown's going to miss the first month and change of the season. Rashee Rice's volume is going to be pretty clear in the early going. And Travis Kelce's still going to get his, and Xavier Worthy's going to be super fun. But the guy in the red zone, I think a lot of, and the guy who is going to be the safety blanket at wide receiver is going to be Rashee Rice. So understand that and realize you're getting a discount on one of the best offensive ecosystems in the Kansas City Chiefs by drafting Rashee Rice as a wide receiver 3. Even if he should miss time, you can still back it up right away with another wide receiver 4 who's got upside, a guy like Christian Watson. We just talked about JSN. We talked about a lot of guys in that range that you can make up ground with. But if you're right and Rashee Rice ends up being a guy that ends up with 10 touchdowns and 1,000+ yards and really outperforms this ADP, Rashee Rice is going to be a guy that helps you win your league. So that is me kind of just laying out the groundwork here for, I understand you're afraid in the marketplace, not the Facebook marketplace, the actual fantasy football.
I'm afraid there too, buddy. Okay,
well,
so
you should be
here's the thing.
very afraid of that marketplace. But I've laid out the case here pretty clear,
Yes.
which is sure, there's risk, but there's risk of guys getting hurt in the NFL too. The upside here for Rice at this ADP, I think, is extraordinary, Matt. What do you think about that risk versus reward when it comes to Rashee Rice?
So I understand the point about the value at the ADP, but it's my job, it's incumbent upon me to push back and ask, should Rice miss any time, whether it be for external factors off the field, or who's the next guy, A, in Kansas City and across draft boards? If Rice falls off, where are you immediately pivoting?
I don't know if anybody really fills the exact gap, though, what Rice provided that offense last year. Hollywood Brown at this stage in his career, and even when he was at his best, was more of a mistake wide receiver. And I say that is a guy with all that speed who typically the corner had to make a mistake for him to really get open and really have an explosive play. And then sometimes the hands have been in question. I know early on in the preseason, like last week, it was really fun to watch Xavier Worthy run past people, and he could be an explosive player. He could be that guy, but it's going to take a little bit of time, I think. I think we're going to see some glimpses of it, and that's great. But Rice is really, I think, that go-to steady presence. You saw in the playoffs, too, how much Mahomes was looking for him. To me, Rice is a really good investment where he's going. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw to the open guy. That's what makes him a great, legendary quarterback. It's what makes Drew Brees great. It's what makes Tom Brady great. Like, they find the guy that's open. They don't rely on the one dude.
Right.
And that's where Josh Allen, for instance, has struggled, right? When you take Stephon Diggs out of this offense now, what's that going to look like? Well, we'll find out. Hour 1 is in the books of FSD. Hour 2, we're going to finish our team previews. We'll be right back after this.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin.
8 Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.